At 1:47 in the morning, Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera went dark. 25 minutes later, a masked figure armed with a gun was standing at her front door. And 41 minutes after that, her pacemaker disconnected from her phone. Forever. For 9 days, investigators thought there was no footage. The camera wasn't even subscribed to a recording service. There was supposed to be nothing. But then the FBI pulled something from Google's backend servers that nobody expected to find. Residual data, ghost images, footage that should not exist. And inside that footage, there are 30 clues that could identify the person who took this 84-year-old grandmother from her home in the middle of the night. I've gone through every single frame. Here's what I found. Before we break down the footage, you need to understand who Nancy Guthrie is. Not just what you've heard on the news, not just whose mother she is, who she is. Nancy is 84 years old. She's a mother of 3, a grandmother. She lives alone in Catalina Foothills, an upscale community just north of Tucson, Arizona. And according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, Nancy is, in his words, sharp as a tack. No cognitive issues, no dementia. She is fully aware of the world around her. But here's what makes this case a race against time. Nancy has serious heart issues. She has a pacemaker. She has limited mobility. And she takes medication every single day. Medication that, according to the sheriff, could be fatal to go without. Every hour that passes without finding Nancy is an hour closer to a point of no return. On the evening of Friday, January 31st, Nancy had dinner at the home of her oldest daughter, Annie Guthrie, and Annie's longtime partner. It was a normal family evening. At 9:48 p.m., a family member dropped Nancy off at her home. The garage door opened. Then it closed. Normal activity. Nancy was home safe. But then, something happened in the dark hours that followed. And when Nancy didn't show up for her virtual church services the next morning, her family knew something was terribly wrong. She was reported missing around noon on February 1st. And yes, Nancy is the mother of today's show, co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. But this case matters because an 84-year-old woman was ripped from her home, not because of who her daughter is. Nancy Guthrie is someone's mother, someone's grandmother, and she needs to come home. Nancy needs her medication to survive. Every hour matters. And the first clues about who took her were hiding in footage that almost didn't exist. Now this is where the story takes its first major turn. Nancy had a Google Nest doorbell camera at her front door. But here's the problem. She didn't have an active subscription to Nest's video recording service. So when investigators first checked, they were told there was no saved footage. Nothing. The camera had been recording to nowhere. And to make things worse, the physical camera itself was removed from the home. Taken. Gone. So for the first 9 days of this investigation, law enforcement was operating essentially blind. No footage. No visual of what happened at that front door. But then, the FBI did something extraordinary. Working directly with Google, Nest's parent company, FBI technicians began digging into what are called backend systems, residual data, the digital ghost of what that camera captured before it was ripped off the wall. And they found something. FBI Director Kash Patel said they were able to, and I quote, excavate material that people would think would normally be deleted and no one would look for. It took 8 days. But on day 10, February 10th, the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Office released images and video of a masked, armed individual at Nancy Guthrie's front door, captured in the early morning hours of February 1st. Criminology professor Brianna Fox from the University of South Florida called it the game changer we were waiting for. And she was right. Because what the FBI pulled from those servers are frames loaded with detail. Detail that could break this case wide open. 30 clues. Let's go through them. Starting now. At 1:47 a.m., Nancy's doorbell camera goes offline. The connection drops. Now this is before any visible footage begins, which means the intruder was already at the home, already tampering with the camera, before we see anything on screen. There is an approach we cannot see. The question is, how long was this person on the property before 1:47? Did they arrive at 1:30, 1:15, earlier? The FBI knows the disconnection time. What they haven't told us is whether there's any data from before that moment. 25 minutes after the camera goes dark, the camera's software detects motion at 2:12 a.m. Now think about that gap. 25 minutes. What was this person doing for 25 minutes? Were they disabling the camera? Were they circling the property? Were they inside the home already? That gap between 1:47 and 2:12 is one of the biggest unanswered questions in this case. And it tells us something critical. This was not a rush job. This person took their time. This is the clue that stops you cold. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker app disconnects from her phone. That means one of two things. Either Nancy was physically moved far enough from her phone that the Bluetooth connection broke, or her phone was destroyed, powered off, or left behind. Either way, 2:28 a.m. is likely the moment Nancy was taken from her home. 16 minutes. From motion detection to pacemaker disconnect. 16 minutes. This abduction was fast. The full window runs from 1:47 a.m. to 2:28 a.m. 41 minutes. Saturday night into Sunday morning. This is statistically the deepest sleep window for someone Nancy's age. The neighborhood would have been at its quietest, traffic at its lowest. This person either knew Nancy's routine, or they chose the most strategically optimal time to act. Neither option is random. This was planned. And we're just getting started. Those were the timeline clues. But the footage itself, the footage is where this gets intense. Now, what I'm about to show you are the behavioral clues, the things this person did on camera that reveal who they are. And clue number 7 is the one that made FBI experts call this person, and I quote, extremely amateurish. As the person walks through the archway leading to Nancy's front porch, their head is tilted down. Deliberately. They are not looking at the ground to watch their step. They are hiding their face. This tells us something important. This person expected a camera. They came prepared for the possibility of being recorded from above. An overhead security camera, a mounted CCTV. But then, they made a mistake that changed everything. As the person reaches the front door, they notice the Nest doorbell camera. And you can see it in their body language. A visible reaction. A pause. Former FBI experts who reviewed this footage said the person behaved as if they expected a camera above them, but were genuinely surprised by a doorbell camera at eye level. And that is a critical detail, because anyone who did thorough reconnaissance of this home would have seen a doorbell camera. They're visible. They're obvious. This person either rushed their planning or never scouted the front door up close. That's a mistake. And here's where it gets amateurish. After noticing the doorbell camera, the person turns around. They walk over to the landscaping. They pull a piece of a plant, leaves, flowers, right out of the ground. Then they walk back to the camera and try to cover the lens with the plant. A plant. From the yard. Let that sink in. A professional would bring tape, a cover, spray paint, a sticker. Anything pre-planned? This person grabbed a plant from the garden. Multiple retired FBI agents who reviewed this footage used the same word, extremely amateurish. And here's why that actually gives investigators hope. If this person was this sloppy at the front door, they've made other mistakes. Somewhere else. And the FBI is hunting for those mistakes right now. Watch the footage closely. When the person reaches for the doorbell camera, it's their left hand that goes first, balled into a fist, left hand forward. This suggests the person is left-handed, and that matters more than you might think. Only about 10% of the population is left-handed. If this person has any prior contact with law enforcement, any arrest, any police report, left-handedness may be documented. It also means the FBI is now reviewing other surveillance footage in the area, looking specifically for someone carrying things, opening doors, or using their phone with their left hand. As the person approaches the door, they do something telling. They reach down and touch the firearm holstered at their waist. It's a quick movement, a check, a tap. Now, if you're trained in firearms, military, law enforcement, even experienced concealed carry holders, you don't need to check. You know where your weapon is. You know it's secure. The fact that this person reaches down to check or adjust suggests they are not comfortable carrying. This is likely not someone who carries a firearm regularly. It could be a nervous habit. It could be an unfamiliar holster. Either way, it reinforces the amateur profile. When the person turns away from the camera, they hunch over, shoulders up, head down, back curved. Now, this could be a deliberate attempt to make themselves smaller, harder to identify on camera, but it could also be something they do naturally, a physical characteristic, the way they carry themselves every day. And if that's the case, someone who knows this person, a coworker, a neighbor, a family member, would recognize that posture instantly. The walking pattern. This is something gait analysis experts look for. The way someone walks, their stride length, the way their arms swing, the way they shift their weight, is almost as unique as a fingerprint. And in this footage, the person's gait is visible as they move between the archway and the front door, and again as they walk to the landscaping and back. If someone who knows this person watches this video, they will recognize that walk, the way they move, the rhythm of their steps. Gait is one of the hardest things to disguise. You can put on a mask, you can change your clothes, but you walk the way you walk. Those are the behavioral clues, 11 clues in, 19 to go. But the next category is the one investigators are pouring the most resources into right now, because the clothing and gear this person is wearing could lead directly to a store, a receipt, and a name. The person is wearing a backpack, and on that backpack there are visible reflective strips. These reflectors are distinctive, they catch light, they stand out. And here's a new development that most people haven't heard yet. Investigators now believe the backpack may be an Ozark Trail hiker pack. Ozark Trail is Walmart's private label outdoor brand. If that identification is confirmed, this becomes one of the most traceable clues in this entire case. Walmart stores have surveillance. They have purchase records. They have transaction histories. If this backpack was purchased at a Walmart in the Tucson area in the weeks before February 1st, the FBI may already be pulling that footage. The person is wearing a zip-up jacket, and across the jacket, there's a distinctive stripe or strip. As of right now, the brand has not been publicly identified. But here's something interesting. Frikic, a retired NYPD detective, took a still frame from the footage, ran it through Google Lens, and immediately got multiple potential matches. That's an investigator using consumer-grade technology. The FBI has far more advanced image recognition tools. They are working to identify this jacket right now, and when they do, the same approach applies. Find the brand, find the stores that sell it, pull the purchase records, pull the surveillance. The person appears to be wearing standard blue jeans. On their own, blue jeans don't narrow things down much. Millions of people wear blue jeans, but combined with every other item, like the specific backpack, the specific jacket, the specific sneakers, you start building a complete outfit profile. And if this person purchased multiple items at the same store, that outfit becomes a signature. Now the mask, it's a full ski mask, ribbed texture, pulled all the way down past the chin, past the neck. And that detail, how far down it's pulled, caught the attention of experts. Most people wearing a ski mask pull it to the chin. This person pulled it further. Why? Experts suggest this could indicate the person is concealing something below the chin, a neck tattoo, a distinctive scar, additional facial hair, something that, if visible, could identify them. The mask itself appears to be a standard ribbed balaclava, available at Walmart, Amazon, sporting goods stores, but the way it's worn, that tells a story. We're halfway through. 15 clues down, 15 to go, and the next clue, clue number 16, is the one that reveals something specific about this person's mindset, what they know and what they don't. Look at the gloves. Look closely. These are not leather gloves. These are not tactical gloves. You can see the creases, the wrinkles, the way the material folds at the knuckles. A retired NYPD detective and former hostage negotiator confirmed what many observers suspected. These look like surgical gloves, nitrile or latex, the kind you'd find in a hospital or buy in a box from any pharmacy. And this tells us two things at once. First, this person knows enough about forensics to wear gloves. They don't want to leave fingerprints. They're thinking about evidence. But second, a professional criminal would wear tactical gloves, mechanics gloves, something with grip and durability. Surgical gloves are what someone wears when they've watched enough crime shows to know about fingerprints, but don't have real-world experience with committing crimes. Forensic awareness, amateur execution. That contradiction keeps showing up. This one is fascinating. Online observers who have been enhancing and analyzing the footage notice something about the sneakers this person is wearing. There appears to be a distinctive split in the toe area. If that's accurate, if these are tabby-style shoes or a specific model with a split toe design, that dramatically narrows identification. These are not common shoes. If the FBI can identify the brand and model, they can trace where those shoes were sold in the Tucson area and potentially who bought them. The firearm is holstered at the center of the waist, not on the hip, not at the appendix position, dead center. And this is unusual. Most people who carry a firearm, whether law enforcement, military, or civilian concealed, carry holders. Carry on the hip or at the 4 o'clock position. A center waist holster is uncommon. It could mean the person is using an improvised holster or belt setup. It could mean they're unfamiliar with how to properly carry. And the firearm itself. One source suggested it may be a Glock semi-automatic, but multiple experts said it's impossible to confirm the make and model from this footage alone. In one frame, you can see the person holding a small flashlight in their mouth. Both hands are occupied, holding pieces of the plant they pulled from the landscaping. So they've got a flashlight clenched between their teeth. It's been described as rectangular, possibly the size of a lighter. Now think about that. A professional would use a headlamp, hands free, strapped to their head. This person is holding a flashlight in their mouth like someone who grabbed whatever was in the kitchen drawer on their way out the door. Another amateur detail and another purchasable, trackable item. Here's something to consider. It is entirely possible that every single item this person is wearing, the backpack, the jacket, the ski mask, the gloves, the sneakers, the flashlight, was purchased specifically for this event, bought new for this one night. And if that's the case, imagine the trail. One person buying a ski mask, surgical gloves, a backpack, a flashlight, and possibly a holster, all within weeks of February 1st. If those purchases happened at the same store, or even across a few stores in the same area, that transaction history is a roadmap. The FBI has confirmed they are tracking purchase records in the Tucson area. Every store, every register, every camera. This clue isn't just about the footage at Nancy's door. It's about every other camera between this person's home and Nancy's home. That jacket has reflective properties. It catches light. On surveillance cameras, gas stations, traffic cameras, Ring doorbells, business security systems, a reflective jacket lights up. It stands out. The FBI is now combing through every piece of surveillance footage in the neighborhood surrounding Nancy's home. And if this person drove, walked, or biked to Nancy's house wearing that jacket, there is a very good chance another camera caught them. Maybe with their mask off, maybe getting out of a car, maybe showing a license plate. 21 clues down, 9 to go. But the next 6 clues are the ones that could put a face on this. Because even behind a ski mask, this person left parts of themselves visible. Through the mouth hole of the ski mask, you can see facial hair, a dark mustache. It's visible, prominent. And if you know someone with a dark mustache who's been acting strangely, who maybe shaved recently when they normally don't, this is a detail that could trigger recognition. Below the mustache, there's more. A partial goatee is visible. Mustache plus goatee is a specific facial hair pattern. It's not just this person has facial hair. It's a style, a grooming choice. And someone who sees this person regularly, at work, at the gym, at a restaurant, would recognize that combination even through a mask. The ski mask sits just above the eyebrows, and you can see them. Dark eyebrows, consistent with the dark mustache and goatee. This person has dark hair coloring across the board. That narrows the physical profile further. Through the eye holes of the mask, the shape of this person's eyes is visible. They've been described as almond-shaped. And this is more significant than it sounds. The FBI has facial recognition technology that can match eye shapes, the distance between eyes, and the geometry of the brow ridge to databases of known individuals. It's actually believed that this feature, the eye geometry, is part of what led investigators to initially identify and detain Carlos Palazuelos as a potential match. He was later cleared and released. But the technology works, and the FBI is running those eye features against every database they have. Here's a subtle one. The person's eyelashes have been described as not distinctive, lighter, sparser. And here's why that matters. The eyebrows are dark. The mustache is dark. But the eyelashes are lighter. That asymmetry is actually a distinguishing feature. It's the kind of thing a friend, a partner, or a family member would notice. Not everyone's eyelash color matches their brow color. And when it doesn't, it's memorable. The FBI knows Nancy's door frame dimensions. They know the exact measurements of that archway, which means they can calculate this person's height with a high degree of accuracy. They can digitally measure the person against the door frame. They can send agents back to the scene and have people of different heights walk the same path to find the match. Combined with the person's visible build and frame, the FBI now has a physical profile: height, build, posture, gait, facial hair pattern, eye shape. That is a lot of information for someone who thought they were invisible behind a mask. 27 clues, 3 to go. And these last 3 are the ones that pull everything together. Because when you combine all of these details, a profile emerges, and what FBI experts are saying about this person is chilling. Former FBI Supervisory Special Agent and criminal profiler Jim Clemente reviewed the footage and gave his assessment. He said, and I quote, "He has some forensic and criminal sophistication, but is not police or military trained." He went on to say, "He is not a professional abductor, and he has likely not done this before." Clemente estimated the person's age at late 20s to early 40s. Former FBI Special Agent Lance Lacing agreed, saying this person is not a career criminal, but added, "They have to have a criminal mindset in order to commit a heinous crime like this." What does this profile mean for the investigation? It means this person is more likely to make mistakes, more likely to have told someone what they were doing, more likely to have left digital footprints, searches, messages, purchases. A professional covers their tracks. An amateur leaves a trail. When you step back and look at all 28 clues before this one, a contradiction emerges. And it's the most important clue of all. This person wore surgical gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints. That's forensic awareness. But then they improvised a camera cover using a plant ripped from the garden. That's amateurish. This person knew to keep their head down for overhead cameras. That's awareness. But then they were surprised by a doorbell camera at eye level. That's incomplete reconnaissance. This person brought a firearm. That's preparation. But then they checked it nervously at the door. That's inexperience. This person is someone who researched how to commit a crime. Probably online. They know what gloves do. They know cameras exist. They know to hide their face. But they have never actually done this before. They studied the theory, but failed the execution. And here is why that matters. A retired FBI agent said it best. If they're amateur at the door, they've made other mistakes. The FBI is not just looking at this footage. They're looking at everything around it. The phone records, the search histories, the purchase trails, the other surveillance cameras. Because someone this sloppy at the point of entry left breadcrumbs everywhere else. Law enforcement sources have told multiple outlets that the operating theory is that the person who took Nancy Guthrie is from the Tucson area, local. And the evidence supports this. The ransom notes weren't sent to national media first. They were sent to 2 local Tucson television stations. Someone sending ransom notes to local TV stations knows those stations, watches those stations, lives in that market. This person also knew where Nancy lived, knew her home, knew the layout well enough to approach in the dark, knew which night to come, knew the timing. This level of familiarity suggests proximity. A neighbor, a service worker, a delivery driver, someone who had reason to be in that neighborhood. Carlos Palazuelos, the man who was detained and released, was a DoorDash driver. He told reporters he may have delivered to Nancy's neighborhood before, but couldn't specifically remember. He was cleared. But his story illustrates the point. Delivery drivers, maintenance workers, landscapers, utility workers, people who move through neighborhoods daily, develop familiarity with homes, routines, and patterns. The person in this footage knew enough about this home to come to the front door in the dead of night. They didn't wander. They didn't hesitate on approach. They walked directly to the door. They knew where they were going. Those are the 30 clues. Every one of them pulled from the footage and expert analysis of this case. But here's where things stand right now, because a lot has happened since that video was released. The moment the FBI released the doorbell footage on Tuesday, February 10th, tips exploded. The Pima County Sheriff's Department has now received over 18,000 calls since Nancy disappeared. And more than 4,000 of those came in the 24 hours after the footage dropped. Several hundred detectives and agents are assigned to this case. This is one of the largest active search operations in Arizona history. On the same evening the footage was released, the Pima County Sheriff's Department detained a man during a traffic stop in Rio Rico, Arizona, about 60 miles south of Tucson. His name is Carlos Palazuelos. He's 36 years old, a DoorDash delivery driver. And here's something most people don't know. The FBI was already investigating Carlos before they released the video to the public. They had developed a lead. They had been watching him. They believed his eye geometry was similar to the masked figure in the footage. But then, After several hours of questioning, Carlos was released. His mother-in-law's home was searched under a warrant. 2 doors were damaged during the entry. Carlos told reporters his wrists were swollen from the handcuffs, and he said something that stuck with me. "I hope they get the suspect, because I'm not it." Carlos says he'd never heard of Nancy Guthrie. He said he doesn't remember ever delivering to her address. He's been cleared, and the search continues. Meanwhile, the ransom notes. There have been multiple. The first demanded $4 million by February 5th. When that deadline passed with no payment, a new note raised it to $6 million by February 9th. Both notes demanded payment in Bitcoin. Both deadlines passed. And here's a detail that hasn't gotten much attention. Investigators found activity in the Bitcoin wallet tied to the ransom note, but not millions, less than $300, small amounts. It's unclear if those transfers are connected to the case or just random blockchain noise. The FBI is analyzing every transaction. There's also been a separate arrest. A man in California was taken into federal custody for allegedly posing as the abductor and sending his own ransom demand to the Guthrie family. A copycat, an opportunist. He is not believed to be connected to Nancy's actual disappearance. And then on Wednesday, today, TMZ received yet another note. But this one is different. This isn't from the kidnapper. This is from someone claiming to know who the kidnapper is. The note demands 1 Bitcoin, roughly $67,000, in exchange for the abductor's name. It was sent to a completely different Bitcoin wallet than the original ransom. TMZ forwarded it to the FBI, who are reviewing its authenticity. On the ground, FBI agents have been physically searching the desert terrain and roadways surrounding Nancy's home in Catalina Foothills. CNN reported that agents were seen on their hands and knees, eyes on the dusty desert floor navigating thick brush and cacti. A New York Post reporter witnessed FBI agents pick up a dark glove on the side of the road about 1.5 miles from Nancy's home. It has not been confirmed whether that glove is connected to the case. Nancy's blood was confirmed through DNA testing on the front porch of her home. Annie Guthrie's neighborhood, where Nancy had dinner on the evening of January 31st, has also been canvassed. As of today, there are no scheduled press briefings. The Pima County Sheriff's Department says they will only hold a press conference if a significant development occurs. A retired FBI special agent told Yahoo News, "I absolutely think it's a good sign for the investigation. Law enforcement is not going to lay their whole case out," he said. "Everything you say is being picked up by the media, and you're talking to the bad guys as well. Throughout all of this, a family is in agony." Savannah Guthrie has posted 3 video pleas since her mother disappeared. In the most recent one, recorded Monday as a ransom deadline approached, Savannah said, "We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. She was taken and we don't know where, and we need your help. We are at an hour of desperation." Before that, on Saturday evening, Savannah appeared alongside her siblings in a video that appeared to speak directly to the person or people holding their mother. She said, "We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is very valuable to us and we will pay." Neighbors in the Catalina Foothills community have begun displaying yellow ribbons outside their homes, a symbol of hope for Nancy's safe return. The leader of the Catalina Foothills Association thanked residents for cooperating with investigators, sharing camera footage, and allowing their properties to be searched. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She has a heart condition. She needs her medication. Sheriff Nanos said going without it could be fatal. 11 days and counting. If you recognize anything from these 30 clues, the backpack, the jacket, the gait, the split-toe sneakers, the mustache, the eyes, the way this person walks, the way they hunch their shoulders, anything, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225-5324. Or submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. Or call the Pima County Sheriff's Department directly at 5203514900. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward. Someone knows who this person is, a friend, a family member, a co-worker, a neighbor. Someone has seen this backpack. Someone has seen this jacket. Someone knows a left-handed person with a dark mustache and goatee who's been acting differently since February 1st. Nancy doesn't have time. Every tip matters. If this breakdown helped you see something you hadn't noticed before, share this video. Send it to someone. Post it. The more eyes on these 30 clues, the better the chance that the right person sees them and makes the call that brings Nancy home. Subscribe to True Crime Buff HQ. I'm going to be covering every single development in this case as it unfolds, every update, every new detail, until Nancy comes home. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.